Seriously, tell me, how are you okay with this?
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Serious? Coming up.
Somebody's coming up. Somebody's serious.
Hey everybody, Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien here. Thanks for stopping by. Look, I've said it before and I will say it again. I want to be wrong about Donald Trump. I would love for him to prove me wrong, for all my concerns to be unfounded, for my criticisms to be overblown. Because if I'm right about him, if he is as authoritarian, corrupt, and dangerous as I think he is, then that's bad for everyone, even the people cheering him on. But so far, he's given me absolutely no reason to think I'm wrong. In fact, his actions in just the past few weeks have reinforced every warning I've ever given about him. Some Trump supporters are thrilled with him simply because he's owning the libs, declaring there are only two recognized genders, outlawing trans athletes from competing in school sports, a policy that targets about 100 athletes in the entire country, and threatening to defund schools that dare to teach anything about systemic racism. These moves don't materially affect their lives, but they do give them something to gloat about. It's political theater, not policy, that actually improves the lives of everyday Americans. But then there are the things that will have a profound effect on people's lives, on all of our lives. And I honestly don't understand how Trump supporters don't see these as problematic. So let's go through them. Trump has floated the idea that the U.S. should own Gaza, turn it into some kind of Middle Eastern Riviera, and force out 2 million Palestinians, essentially promoting ethnic cleansing for real estate purposes. He talks about it like it's a business deal, not a humanitarian catastrophe. He even suggested cutting aid to Jordan and Egypt if they don't take the displaced people he plans to expel. This is a crime against humanity, and no one should miss that. Trump is making it the stated policy of the United States to commit and support ethnic cleansing. He has no understanding of history, foreign affairs, or diplomacy, just the instinct to bulldoze and rebuild like it's one of his bankrupt casinos. And let's not forget that this isn't just immoral, it's dangerous. If you think groups like Hamas don't benefit from this rhetoric, you're not paying attention. This isn't just bad policy, it's a recruitment tool for extremists who now have even more reason to claim that the U.S. is an enemy of their people. Because they are. And if the U.S. actually tried to follow through on this, it would cost thousands of lives, including American military personnel. But sure, let's focus on keeping trans kids out of sports instead. Speaking of disastrous foreign policy, Trump has been making moves that have been making Vladimir Putin grin from ear to ear. Trump just spoke with Putin for the first time in his second term and immediately declared that they've agreed to work together to end the war in Ukraine. What that actually means is that Trump is likely going to push for Ukraine to cede land to Russia, betraying an ally and rewarding Putin's aggression. Meanwhile, his administration has signaled that Ukraine will never be allowed into NATO. Again, exactly what Putin wants. And if that wasn't enough, Trump's new head of intelligence is none other than Tulsi Gabbard, a woman who has consistently pushed Kremlin-friendly narratives and downplayed Russian aggression. It's like Putin is running U.S. foreign policy without even having to try. Trump is also trying to gut the Department of Education. Now, Congress would have to approve an actual shutdown, but Trump has already ordered the agency to strip away as many functions as possible, especially anything related to civil rights protections, diversity programs, and federal funding for schools. What does that mean? It means public schools, especially in GOP-led states, will suffer massively. Special education programs, slashed. Federal protections against discrimination, gutted. Funding for public education, essentially gone. Meanwhile, states that prioritize private school vouchers over public education will see even more kids left behind. So while Trump supporters might celebrate the idea of getting rid of liberal indoctrination, what they're really getting is a less educated workforce, a wider wealth gap, and millions of kids getting a worse education. But hey, at least those woke teachers won't be teaching this country's racist history anymore, right? Then there's the FBI. Trump has started dismantling the agency, targeting and firing thousands of agents who were involved in investigating January 6th rioters, Trump's allies, or Trump himself. And he's replacing them with people who are personally loyal to him. But here's where it gets even worse. The new FBI applicants are being asked explicitly political questions during their hiring process. Questions like, who is your real boss? Was January 6th an inside job? And was the 2020 election stolen? Answer no to any of these and you don't get a job. That's not vetting for competency, merit. That's a loyalty test. The message is clear. To work in the federal law enforcement, you must pledge allegiance not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump. This is no different than the forced loyalty to Big Brother and the party in Orwell's 1984. Just as Winston Smith was required to deny objective reality and believe whatever the party told him to, so too must FBI agents accept Trump's version of reality, whether it's the fiction of a stolen election or the lie that January 6th was some kind of patriotic uprising. That's not how law enforcement works in a democracy. That's how it works in a dictatorship. If you can only work for the FBI if you pledge loyalty to the president instead of the Constitution, then what you have is a secret police, not a federal agency. And once you go down that road, I don't know how you come back. Trump is also gutting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, an agency that has returned over $21 billion to Americans cheated by banks, lenders, and corporations. Why kill it? Because his billionaire donors and corporate friends don't like being held accountable. And to make matters worse, Trump has given Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency direct access to sensitive government data, including banking and consumer financial records. And let's talk about the glaring conflict of interest here. Musk has been openly pushing for Shitter to be a major financial platform, handling digital payments and banking. That kind of business would fall directly under the regulatory oversight of the CFPB, the very agency Trump is now handing over to Musk's operatives to dismantle. So not only is Musk gaining access to private consumer data, but he's also eliminating the one agency that would have the power to regulate his financial ambitions. This isn't government reform. This is the richest man in the world using government power to remove obstacles to his own profit making. And Trump is handing him the keys. And speaking of handing him the keys, Trump let Elon Musk drive an entire press conference the other day. While Trump sat there meekly, Musk stood above him, casually dressed, showing zero respect for the office of the presidency, and took questions from reporters. And even though Musk's answers showed a feeble grasp of how things work in this country, he still managed to make Trump look powerless and small. Trump has seemingly ceded foreign policy to Putin and domestic policy to Musk. I've used a lot of words to describe Trump in the past. Convict, rapist, crook, grifter, scammer, cruel, fraudster, petty, spiteful. divisive, bigoted, hate-monger, corrupt, repulsive, authoritarian, dangerous, fascistic, offensive, vindictive, ugly, rank, vile, liar, petulant, perverted, ignorant, selfish, decrepit, off-putting, lecherous, narcissistic, nasty, foul, heinous, shambolic, sickening, farcical, delusional, nauseating, malignant, worthless. But I've never thought I would be describing him as weak. What the fuck? So I'll ask again. How do Trump supporters not see a problem here? It's one thing to cheer when he bans a book or shuts down a diversity program, but when he's undermining national security, weakening public education, stripping away consumer protections, and handing over government power to unelected billionaires, how do you not see the danger? I didn't even have time to go into the chaos and uncertainty that these people are creating, firing people illegally and the courts having to block them, firing some 300 employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration, some of whom were on the ground managing our nuclear arsenal, but then claiming it was a mistake, accidentally giving Elon's minion Edit access to the Treasury payment system. How does this not prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Trump is every bit the corrupt authoritarian I feared he would be? I want to be wrong about Trump, but right now I have no reason to think that I am. If you disagree, if you think there's a defense for any of this, please tell me, because I don't see how anyone who claims to love this country can be okay with this. And when I say tell me, I mean explain it to me. Don't send me links to someone else saying something. I won't watch it, because that doesn't tell me what you think. That tells me what you heard. And I don't care about that. Okay. Your turn.
And the Shogun is the master. Why don't you sit down and shut up? Why don't I sit down and what? I said, why don't you sit down and shut up? Why don't anybody who wants me to sit down and shut up come down here and make me?
I can't hear you.